thumbs up that we're actually live streaming.
Okay.
Dawn, do you still have that motorcycle?
I have an electric motorcycle now, Mo.
Oh, perfect. I would like to see
We are
it.
live. We're live on YouTube, so we're all set to go.
And then here's Dwight.
And there's our chair.
Hello, everyone. I finally was able to get in. Top of the morning or afternoon to everybody.
Greetings.
Okay, we've got a lot to cover today. So Barbara, unless you suggest otherwise, let's jump right in.
You can call the meeting to order, Chair, and then
Yeah,
Susan
let's
can
call
do
it
the
to
roll
order
call.
and do a quick roll call so we know who's here.
Member DeCino?
Here.
Member Jameson?
Here.
Member Paul?
Yes, present.
Member Revelis? Member Lesazade?
Here.
Member Davenport?
Here.
Member Norris?
Present.
Member Kirschbaum?
Here.
Member Shade? Member Colson? Member Oshley?
Here.
Vice Chair Mosier?
Here.
Chair Warden?
Here.
Thank you.
All right, thank you for that. The next item is to do the flag salute. And let's, I think we have our magic little cool flowing flag that we put up on the screen for everybody. And if you will just participate with me. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance
To
the
the flag
United States of America
America.
and to the
To the
republic,
republic for which it stands,
one nation,
nation,
under God, with liberty and
indivisible,
for all.
with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you all very much for that. And before I turn it over to Barbara, let's just do a welcome to a bunch of new members. And Barbara, if you agree, maybe we'll just go around and have everybody quickly say a couple of words about themselves so we all get to know each other a little bit.
Yeah, Chair Warden, I think that would be wonderful since we do have so many new members. We do have a very exciting agenda, a little bit longer. So maybe just a brief introduce yourself and what city you're from. And if you're on a subcommittee, mention that. And then, yeah, so Chair Warden, if you want to.
All right.
The list.
And I will encourage people to be brief and don't be offended if I give you the hook if you drabble on. And I'm just going to call on people as I see you on the screen. So let's start with you, Barbara.
Oh, hi, I'm Barbara Boswell. I'm the Chief Executive Officer of Clean Energy Alliance. Have been so since January, I think, of 2020, and very excited to meet you all and work with you.
Thank you, Barbara. And I am Dwight Worden. I am the alternate for the city of Delmar. I'm a Delmar City Council member. I'm the alternate to CEA and designated by the CEA board of chair of this fun little group. And so, Susan, how about you?
Hi, I'm Susan, and I am the interim board secretary, and I've had the pleasure of working with the board since October 2020.
Thank you, Susan. Elizabeth.
Thank you, Chair Warden. I'm Elizabeth Mitchell. I'm the Assistant General Counsel for CEA. I'm a partner at Burke Williams and Sorensen.
Thank you. And Rick Paul.
Yes, hi, everyone. Rick Paul, I'm from Escondido. I'm involved in a couple things there, and I am on the local program subcommittee.
Thank you, Rick. Paige Decino.
Hi, I'm Paige Decino of Carlsbad, and I am on the local program subcommittee and the underserved communities subcommittee.
Thank you, Paige. Roger Davenport, welcome.
Yes, I'm a new member. I've been a solar research engineer for my entire career, bachelor's in physics, MSME, mechanical engineering.
Thank you, Roger. Nancy Oshley.
Hi, thank you. Yeah, Nancy Oshley. I am a 30+ year resident of Vista and been an activist for about the last probably 15 years here locally. We started a group called Vista Climate Action Planners when we found out about community choice energy when Sierra Club was doing their spiel all over the county. So we thought, well, this is great. We need to bring it to Vista. So that brings me here to today. Thank you.
Welcome to you, Nancy. Jennifer Kirschbaum.
Hi, so I'm from San Marcos, and I was appointed to this committee last spring in April, and I also serve on the EV subcommittee and the local program subcommittee.
Thank you, Jennifer. Mo.
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. Mo Lasai Zadeh, it's very long last name. I have been in Oceanside, living in Oceanside for past 32 years. I worked for the city of Oceanside for 18 years, and I retired 2 years ago. And 10 years, the last 10 years before my retirement, I worked on cities, energy efficiency, and believe it or not, on a CCA, what do I call it, a saga. It was a very difficult, but now that I'm retired, I'm glad that I'm joining the group. Thanks for having me.
Thank you and welcome, Mo. And I hope you noticed how gracefully I avoided trying to pronounce your last name.
Yeah. Susan got it right. Susan got it.
Ronald Ishii, welcome to you.
Hi, I'm Ron Ishii. I'm living in the city of Vista, and that's who I'm representing. And I've been in the energy business for about 42 years, and I'm a mechanical engineer by training.
Excellent. Don Mosier.
Yeah, I'm representing Del Mar. I'm on the EV committee, and I'm happy to see Mo here because when I was on the city council, Mo and I were on the Sending Energy Working Group together, and had an enjoyable time trying to get CCAs going.
Right.
And it happened.
You got it.
Eventually.
Right. Thank you, Don. Dolores Jameson.
Yes, hi. Yes, I'm a Del Mar resident, and I just was recently appointed to the city a few months ago. And prior to that, I did serve on the City of Del Mar Sustainability Advisory Board, and I'm involved in a lot of volunteering for different environmental groups.
Thank you, Dolores. Kevin Norris.
Yes, Kevin Norris from San Marcos. I'm on the EV subcommittee. I'm also planning commissioner and climate action working group in San Marcos.
All right, thank you, Kevin. Sarah, how about you?
My video on, so you can all see me. I'm Sarah Madsen. I'm from Trepepe Smith. We do all of the marketing communications for Clean Energy Alliance. We've been here from the start and excited to be here. Nice to meet all the new members.
Thank you, Sarah. And Andy Stern, last but not least. Is Andy here? I see his.
Yeah, sorry, I'm on my phone and not in a place where I can show my video. And I was clicking some buttons that made me give permission to Zoom. I'm the interim chief financial officer with the Clean Energy Alliance. I've been with CEA for about 6 months. Prior to that, I spent about 4 years as the CFO of another large CCA in Northern California, Peninsula Clean Energy.
All right, thank you, Andy, and welcome to all the new people, and welcome back to those of you who are veterans. And moving right along, Barbara, let's turn it over to you for the CEO's report.
Before we get to that item, Chair, we have a presentation. Item 1 is
actually, before we get to that, can we do public comment?
Well, actually, yes, we'll back up 2 steps. Thank you all for keeping me in order. Susan, do we have anybody on the line that wants to make a public comment?
We have no requests to speak.
All right, then Barbara, let's do the presentation.
Thank you, Chair. I am bringing into the room the group that will be making a presentation to this committee. We're bringing to you a very exciting and innovative program. It's a distributed microgrid program that is being under consideration from other CCAs throughout the state. Sorry, I'm having a little trouble getting everybody in. It will be of interest to this entire group, and it touches on our meeting the needs of our underserved communities as well as offering local programs. And I will turn it over to, there he is. Hi, Ethan. We have with us a group of folks from Participate Energy. and Tesla, and they're going to give a presentation on a program that we're asking the Community Advisory Committee to let us know if you think it's a program that we should recommend that we bring forward to the board for consideration. So with that, I will turn it over to our group from are here to meet with you all. And please ask questions as we go through the presentation. It's not a very long presentation, and would like to have it be interactive, and I'm interested to hear what you all have to say.
Excellent. Thank you, Barbara.
Who's going to be
Okay, go.
doing the slides? Okay, thanks, Stephen.
And actually, Ethan, could you load up the slides while I kind of do introductions around? So I will quickly do introductions. Ethan and I will be speaking, so we'll introduce ourselves. My name is Stephen Pollock. I've been in solar for 17 or 18 years. I was with Tesla for 8 years. I was initially brought on to launch the Powerwall program globally, and I've since moved on from Tesla and have joined Participate Energy, primarily because I think this is such an amazing program. I also happen to have grown up in Del Mar, went up through the school system there in Torrey Pines, so I've got a definite excitement about being able to present to this group here in San Diego, North County, especially. Ethan?
Can you guys see the screen?
Yes, we can.
Excellent. So, hi, my name is Ethan Friedman. I'm also with Participate Energy, and we are very happy to introduce this program to you. It's a solar plus battery system located at the homes of CEA residential customers. And our goal is to create a profitable, socially equitable, resilient, and green energy solution that ultimately will allow for Clean Energy Alliance to provide greater value to your clients and your customers. So,
just to let you know who else is on the call, Mike Kimball is here from Participate Energy, as is Marco. They are working on general expansion, relationship management. It's one thing where we present to the CCAs and try to see if it's an interesting program. But we also have people that are focused on launching the CCA, marketing to customers, and supporting operations. In addition, Caleb Patrick is here from Tesla. Caleb is also focused on CCA expansion and relationship management generally, also focuses on the commercial side of the business, so for commercial and industrial products, and is also our general point of contact because we are matrixed into the Tesla organization across the design, installation teams and service teams and so on. So I'm going to kick it off here. So this is what we think it's a really exciting program. We've been in solar long enough to see, as many of you, some of the challenges in deploying behind the meter solar and batteries. And batteries is a relatively new thing, but we've seen tremendous growth over the past couple of years, call it 5 years, and behind the meter batteries. In parallel, we've been working with CCAs. We've had a lot of interaction with Barbara and the Cal Choice team and other CCAs in California. And we've identified some, sorry
about that. That's my mistake. Thank you.
And we've identified some challenges in CCAs, specifically one contradiction, which is not contradiction, but conflict, which is everyone wants to help residents go green. The CCAs are there to support the community, but when community members go green, it often lowers the load of CCAs and presents other challenges. So we tried to create a program that breaks apart traditional PPAs, traditional CCA offers, traditional wholesale generation contracts, which we'll get into, and reassembles them in a way that creates more benefit for all stakeholders, and we believe is a unique approach to the distributed microgrid. So again, I believe we only have 10 minutes and we're going to move into Q&A. There's a lot to cover here, so I'm going to try and go quickly. In general, we're defining microgrid as residential plus solar. There are many ways to define microgrids, but we're taking a very simple approach. If a customer can do backup and generate their own electricity and store their own electricity, we're calling that a microgrid. In many cases, people have other technologies there, but we're focusing on residential plus solar. What we're really doing is distributed microgrids. we are taking microgrids and restructuring at a programmatic citywide level how we can bring those to customers to benefit homeowners, to benefit the CCA, to benefit everyone involved, and really make it equitable and equitable for all people that live in the community, regardless of your FICO score, regardless of where you live, how big your house is. In fact, we're trying to expand into other kinds of programs where we support low-income affordable housing and multifamily, and expanding into commercial. So we're really trying to create a holistic program for the community. Some of the customer benefits, and a lot of these things will sound familiar because they are components that come from different things we already know. So we already know individual PPAs. An individual PPA allows you to go $0 up front, and we design the systems to offset ideally 100% of load, or even above if you have planned load increases in the future, for example, EVs and electric appliances. We want to be able to provide emergency backup power. We need to make sure that the rates are competitive against retail. So we need to provide a path to creating savings, but even more important, very competitive against alternative PPAs out in the market.
Ethan, can you just clarify what a PPA is so everybody knows?
Sure, Dwight, thank you. A PPA is a power purchase agreement. So there are many ways to go solar. A PPA or a lease is where somebody else owns the system and you're paying for it on a monthly basis for the use of it, as opposed to buying the system for cash or even getting a loan where the customer owns the system. So we are talking about a PPA structure where we're taking care of the credit underwriting, monetizing the tax benefits, monitoring the system, operating the system. Another thing we've seen recently, as you'll be discussing in this meeting, rates have been all over the place. So trying to create more stable, competitive, but predictable pricing is important for us, and also especially for people on fixed incomes. Another big one is no credit underwriting and universal pricing for all customers. So this really speaks to people that might not have credit underwriting, which gives them the best rates or the best prices. Sometimes it disqualifies them entirely. We are not taking an individual customer underwriting approach like many of the other players in solar. We are really working with you, the CCA, to provide the same offer to all customers in your communities, which also solves one of the big problems of PPA transferability. So a lot of people have been trying to sell their house and do refinancing and other things, and have had problems with the PPA moving to somebody else. So it's created challenges in selling your homes. That's not something that we want to contribute to. So our solution is by removing the underwriting, people can now sell their homes freely and not be encumbered by these other PPA terms. The program can include optional EV charging. So Tesla does make a universal charger now. And it also includes an ability within the rates to do minor upgrades or remediation to the home to make it ready for solar. For example, a main panel upgrade, we can include in the rate. So we're really trying to make a streamlined offer here. And of course, our partner for installation and deployment is Tesla. So our customers, our joint customers, get the full Tesla experience, the full Tesla service, all throughout the term of the program. So there's no difference in what a cash customer gets from Tesla and what a customer going into this program gets. On the CCA side of things, we're trying to deploy green power, and we want equal access. So these are two fundamental tenets of things that we're trying to do with our program.
Yeah. And Stephen, if I can, I'm sorry to interrupt you. Chair, we have a question.
Oh, sure.
Hi, this is Paige Decino. I just want to make sure when you say you can cover like panel upgrades to that, what about roofs? Is that included in that?
So we have a bucketed structure, kind of like tiers. Think about it like every $2,500 of upgrade work is another half a penny on the PPA rate, but we do cap out at 5,000. And the reason for that is over 5,000, there's so much work to be done, and a re-roof would be included in that, that we just want you to use your own roofer, get the work done the way you want.
Okay.
It's not a minor site improvement. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Retaining customer loads. It's one of the preambles that I spoke about in terms of trying to help the CCA continue to grow over time. We also have participation financially from CEA. So as opposed to the traditional structure where you might buy and sell, and Ethan will get into this, but I'll actually defer to him, sorry. So upfront and ongoing revenue by CEA. Another big one is coincident benefit to CEA. So when the batteries are operating in the time that the homeowner is benefiting and the grid is benefiting. So for example, if you're doing a demand response program, there's another program in the IOUs called ELRP, which is a load reduction program. Those are triggered at the same time that the CCA can benefit from that. So when the CCA might be struggling with load or need to go out to real-time markets and buy power, and the power has really gone through the roof, these batteries can be used to offset that. We call it a physical hedge, where we can inject the power from the batteries and then not take the financial hit of market volatility for the CEA. Of course, we want the CCA to retain all environmental attributes, and then over time, use our insight into the program to develop very specific grid service programs for your community members to participate in that help them and also help CEA operate their business. I'm gonna go to the next slide and have Ethan jump in.
Hi, everyone. So, it's really, we wanted to make sure that we made this as clear as possible as how this is different. And fundamentally, if you're familiar with a traditional solar power purchase agreement, that has a solar power provider come in, install panels, and then sell power to that homeowner, who in turn net meters the excess energy out into the grid. And effectively, it requires you all or the CEA as the energy retailer to accept that energy often at the time that's least valuable to you. And so what we really want to do is invert that, so that the customer would ultimately start with enrolling in a newly launched dedicated tariff, which would be essentially outlining this program. Based upon that order, Tesla would design, build, and install that system and then maintain it for the next 25 years. So it is, as Stephen mentioned, the completely consistent customer experience that you would get as if you paid $30,000 or $50,000 in cash for the system. Participate Energy, for our part, would pay for the system as it's being built by Tesla. And then we would essentially sell all of the power and the battery services to CEA behind the meter. So you would see the CCA be able to source generation already at the point of consumption, so you could resell it without ever taking on any transmission or delivery charges as an on-bill tariff. So this is much more straightforward for your customers, because ultimately it doesn't come in the form of a separate bill that gets paid to a third-party company. This is essentially an on-tariff solution that allows for the CEA to retain all of the generation that is being produced by the solar and realize a benefit from it. And the reason we're able to do this is because by changing the counterparty from individuals to the CEA as an institution, we're effectively creating a more efficient transaction. We're lowering the contract risk, because even a pool of high net worth individuals has a lesser rating in credit terms than some institution that, like you all, that could raise rates against the underlying rate base. And at the same time, we're able to create tremendous value through lower cost of capital that gets passed through to the purchase price by CEA and the sale price from CEA to your customers. And because we're not ultimately looking to the individual as the backstop for the purchase of the power, we're looking to CEA. That's how we're able to deploy these systems without any credit underwriting at all. And so what we really want to achieve is the ability to service the underserviced market, whereby a traditional solar PPA company may come in and canvass a neighborhood and seek out the top 20% of FICO scores, but that still leaves the majority of the people in that community underserved because they don't have the underlying qualifications, even though we know that the technology could create significant savings on an ongoing basis. And we're able to achieve those significant savings because a part of every bill that your customers pay is not just the generation charges, but the transmission and delivery. And because we're generating out at the customer's home, we really offset that transmission and delivery. And that savings is what allows the essentially headroom on the bill to absorb the cost of the batteries, which ultimately enables all of the positive benefit that we want to achieve. And fundamentally allows for the expectation is that if you own your own home and have an 800 FICO score, having $20 or $40 or $50 a month in energy savings may not ultimately move the needle for you as a family. That may not be the case for everyone. And so the ability to generate those types of predictable long-term rates with ongoing savings is really important, we believe, in now allowing for green energy to be adopted beyond sort of the current penetration, right? So people that are already inclined to go solar have done so, but there's really a lot of lost opportunity where people just for, well, the reasons we've outlined don't qualify. So that's really, sort of the program. We wanted to identify who we are, right? So Tesla is pretty well known as a leading car company, but also has an energy division that has been, established for over 20 years. They're a leader in the residential home battery space, and Participate Energy, our company, is a newly formed entity that is dedicated to the management of this program. But our sister company, parent company, Corporate Credit Inc., has antecedents going back to the early 90s and has since that time has lent over $5 billion to corporate investment into tax advantage transactions, primarily low-income housing transactions, as well as developed over 250 megawatts of rooftop solar. And we are currently about 3/4 of the way through construction of a portfolio of behind the meter, and that's located at the individual site, standalone storage that we partnered with Tesla on for the last 2 years under the equity resiliency program, where 100% of the batteries were gifted to critical infrastructure in low income and high fire risk areas. And we were able to do so in partnership with Tesla and the CPUC self-generation incentive program. And it was that experience that ultimately led to our working closely with other CCAs as well as Tesla to develop this program. As we look forward, we're really striving to, and I understand we're short on time, we're really striving to create a holistic solution, as Stephen outlined at the start of the call. So immediate expansion areas that we're looking to is to essentially enable for municipal and school district programs to be under the same on-bill tariff, as well as commercial programs. And as I'm sure many of the people that are on this committee understand, the Inflation Reduction Act introduced tremendous benefits for solar, and some of those were additional adders to the federal subsidy for low income. And it is our intention to partner with CEA to co-author an application to the Treasury, because this is really fundamentally the definition of a community benefit program. And our goal would be to secure additional federal subsidy that would allow for us to have an even deeper subsidized rate targeted at low income customers, care customers, so that we can create energy savings for all of the CEA underlying customers. We are also looking at multifamily for the same reason, as well as storage to existing solar. But again, those are really sort of secondary after we launch the initial single family home program. So maybe we can pause there and I'll let sort of questions.
Let's go. If you could stop screen sharing so I could see everybody. Yeah. Just if you have a question, put your virtual hand up. There should be a button at the bottom of your screen that says raise hand. If not there, click on reactions and you'll see that. All right, Rick Paul.
Yes, thank you. So I heard avoiding transmission and delivery charges. So I have solar on my roof. I do not have batteries, and I assume that I am paying transmission and delivery charges. How would this program avoid that?
So,
Sure. Stephen, go ahead, please.
So anytime that you do solar on your roof, whether you pay cash or a loan or a PPA, if you're producing the solar and you're consuming it as you produce it, then you are avoiding those delivery charges. So if you go back to your utility bill and you see there's, especially in CEA territory, you're going to see a delivery charge and an energy charge or a generation charge. The delivery charge that you pay for energy you buy from the grid and import from the grid is going to be reduced to zero for what you produce and consume on site. Now, if you don't have batteries and you're interconnected under NEM 1 or NEM 2 or even NEM 3, any extra energy that goes out to the grid and comes back is going to be subject to those kind of the non-bypassable charges. They're going to take a piece of those through NEM. So one of our goals with NEM 3 especially, which really kind of ruins the economics of standalone storage, it really says people should be having batteries now, is we are using the battery to capture as much of the solar generation on site and avoid the NEM 3 charges.
All
Thank
right,
you very much.
Jennifer, then Paige.
Thank you. So you were talking about reducing energy costs. So a customer, like a low-income customer that couldn't necessarily afford to install solar on their own, they have you guys come in, install the panels and the battery. What kind of assurance are you giving to those customers for their rates long-term?
So I'll take a whack at this, and Ethan, please jump in. So the rates are going to be fixed. The CEA rates will float as you make adjustments to your rate schedule. The SDG&E delivery charges will move as SDG&E changes things. But when you sign up for this program, which is 25 years with a 5-year option to extend, those rates at a kilowatt hour rate has a fixed escalator, and the Powerwall has a fixed lease payment. Those are super predictable and contracted for 25 years. So when we look at savings today or the impact on the bill today, with really small bills, it's really hard to save money, right? As you get to big bills, the savings becomes very clear, but at least the predictability is there, which we think is really important for not just low income, but also people on fixed incomes that really can't absorb a 30% hit or a 40% hit from the IOUs increasing their prices.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Paige, and then Ron Ishii.
I have a couple things. First of all, just following up on what Jen asked. So are the initial rates to those customers guaranteed to be at or lower than they might get on our default options?
We are, so this meeting is to get feedback and introduce the program to you. We are going to be working with Barbara on coming up with the exact offer. And so before anybody moves forward with anything, we would have exact numbers to share with you.
Okay.
But the intent is it will be very transparent, and
okay.
The offer, it'll be clear and documented for the customer.
Okay. My other question is, you said something about essentially modulating input to the grid as needed. So your program would do something similar to Ohm Connect, where they could siphon off energy from your battery as needed. Is that correct? Did I interpret that right?
So the idea is to benefit everybody. So the first thing is the customer is paying a monthly bill for the solar and the battery. So we need to make sure they're optimizing their bill as much as possible. And wherever we can have coincident benefit, which is where when it benefits the customer, it also benefits the CEA, that is an ideal situation. There are going to be additional scenarios where there might be a trade-off. It might be really valuable for CEA to use the battery at one point in time, but it might be less valuable to the end customer. And in that case, we would work with you and the team and Barbara to figure out what a fair offer is. So it's not unlimited access to the Powerwall because the customer is already paying for it. we need to be fair in the use of the Powerwall.
Thank you.
All right, thanks. Ron and then Don.
Yeah, so I guess it sounds like you may have just answered my question, but it sounds like you do have dispatchable control of the energy storage unit, but we'll exercise that within limits that are still beneficial to the customer.
So maybe I'll just take a stab at that one, right? Ron, it seems like you have a long experience working with these power market components. So, just to get a little bit more granular, we have through the Tesla on-site control system, the ability to govern the battery. What we were really interested in is working with your policy team to come up with new programs where you can introduce effectively your own grid services, enabling you to align interests between your customers and CEA to achieve maximum benefit. So if you can identify those windows in time in which you are like most in need of incremental power at fixed rates with, so as to avoid the spot market, you could then create a program and work with us and Tesla to develop that program, explain it to your customers and enroll them. And the expectation is that the savings to CEA beyond sort of the ongoing revenue generation, that savings is what enables sort of the benefit to them in terms of maybe that's a bill credit.
Okay. Do you anticipate looking at potential revenue streams from the California ISO or SDG&E for T&D benefits?
So Participate Energy is not seeking to have any part of those incremental benefits. If we could deliver commodity power to CEA at each person's home and have CEA have full governable control of that power from that point forward, that would be optimal for us. Our goal in the end is to deploy more systems. And so we want to create as much circumstance as possible and as much benefit for CEA and the customers as possible. We're not looking to future grid services revenue as a key component of our benefit stream. Does that answer your question? Yeah.
Yeah. So my last question. So your only revenue stream will be through the customer, or are you
our purchase under the
stream?
wholesale? So the intention is each one of the systems will be enrolled into a master wholesale PPA. And so 100% of our revenue comes from the sale of power and battery services to CEA. And then our expectation is the CEA will then resell that power and battery services to each of your customers, bringing it onto your balance sheet.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ron. Don, and then Mo.
Yeah, I just had a very detailed question based on our experience at Del Mar City Hall with big solar and battery installation. Will each Powerwall be controllable by the resident, particularly to offset time of use charges? Because, particularly in the winter, we're getting hit with those 4 to 9 p.m. charges. And if we can control the battery so it discharges during that period, then we can offset that use. It took 2 years to get the battery system, which is not a Tesla system at City Hall, correctly programmed to offset those demand charges.
Yeah, I can take that one. So Tesla has a general philosophy, which I agree with, which is certain things should be automated. The default should be very simple. Not everyone wants to tweak their settings. So the default when you set up when you get the solar and the Powerwall is you're going to get a Tesla app. And that app is going to have a default setting to your specific tariff. The TOU tariff 4 to 9 p.m. or 5 to 8 p.m., whatever it is. It will also have a backup reserve level. So for example, it might be 20 or 25%. So that if those are the two settings, and we no longer need to only fill the battery from solar for the ITC, that's kind of gone away with the new tax credit laws. The battery will optimize for just that. It will hold 20 or 25% back for backup. It'll never touch that so that you have power in case the grid goes out. The customer can change it if they want to. You can go to 0% or 80%. Personally, I'm at 0% because I want total optimization. And then The battery has an intelligence in it. It's a learning system called Opticaster. It will look at your loads, it will look at solar production, and it will continue to optimize to give you the best bill savings it can by predicting your loads and production and figuring out when to dispatch and charge. So all of that is in the app. And then even better is it's customizable by a customer if they want to. And the last thing is a feature we like to talk about called Stormwatch, which is the system is tied to National Weather Service. So the system is always looking for certain alerts that come off of the National Weather Service for storms, high heat, whatever it might be. And if that set of alerts is triggered, the battery will forget about whatever else it's doing. And it'll say, the most important thing for me to do right now is charge the battery to 100% and be ready for my customer in case I'm needed. So it's a very cool feature that's included.
Did you have another question, Don, or is that?
No, thank you.
All right, thanks, Don, and Mo, and then Kevin.
Yeah, I have a couple of questions, or maybe on your opinion. For the disadvantaged communities, do you folks have anything like, say, community PPA? Just like, you know, that's one area, and then everyone will get that from PPA community. And the other question is, person like me, I can't afford, I have a rooftop, but I don't have a storage because it's more than what I can afford. Is there also a community storage, like the SDG&E have one in Escondido, huge one, you know, they store. But then it's someone like me can, instead of buying a storage unit, send it to this community one, and then it will be distributed to the people that need it. So two questions, PPA community and the storage community. Thank you.
Ethan?
Sure. So we're very familiar with community shared solar and have developed community shared solar projects in New York and in other areas where community shared solar has really been at the forefront. We know that California's low-income focused community shared solar program is still, moving forward, but to my understanding, it's really just in the framework stage. And so as we see that program develop, we would love to have an expansion to work with CEA to develop resources that are going to be local to these communities to allow for an alternative solution. But fundamentally, the important thing here is that our expectation is that you can afford storage now. Like that's what this program is intended to enable, is that you don't need to have a centralized storage because you can opt into this program and make use of the essentially no cost installation and then look to essentially a fixed cost with no escalation for the next 25 years on a monthly basis to give you complete predictability in terms of the expense that would be borne by utilizing that battery. And so it enables both more benefit to be realized from the solar because the daylight hours can be extended into the evening peak, as well as a strong alternative. That much said, we do believe that, batteries are going to be part of the landscape, for energy retailers in the future, and that, having a physical hedge, as Stephen outlined, could be a meaningful part of the composition of risk strategy that CEA has in the future, right? So the expectation is it may make sense to have a centralized battery bank at a substation to allow for you to have more control around dispatch of battery power as opposed to buying purely financial hedges in Houston or what have you.
Thank you for that. Kevin.
Yes, sorry. You mentioned ELRP. So who gets the benefits of ELRP? Is it the customer? Is it CEA? Is it participant? Because there's a good payback for that. We've done that on campus last year, and there was significant monies that was given out.
So we're in the process of trying to understand how to integrate the existing Tesla ELRP residential program into this. I think this is something we'd be working with Barbara on. And there's also some particularities around ELRP within CCAs versus it within the traditional IOUs. But this is something we would work with you on, and so you could see the economics. At the end of the day, Participate Energy is not really participating in a lot of the in potential grid services. So fundamentally, the customer would be getting the majority of, if not all, I can't promise that right now, we need to explore it, but they should be getting the majority of the direct economic incentive. But once enrolled, the way ELRP is structured and the way it dispatches, it will benefit the CCA in terms of it will be dispatched when CEA is most exposed to real-time markets. So that's the physical hedge, and that's the coincident benefit. There's not a direct financial payment to CEA that goes to the customer, but the impact on operating the network, on operating your business, is where you get the benefit.
I see. Also, my experience with PPA is you purchase the power, period. You 15 cents, 20 cents, whatever the kilowatt hour, 24/7, or whatever the contract is. But you mentioned a lease on the battery, and I think you said the panels as well. So is that in addition to the purchase of the energy, and what does that equate to?
Ethan?
Sure. So, and again, we're still, in the discussion phases, and that's why we want to make sure that we're, being fair in terms of accurately portraying the economics. But our intention is to essentially look to the all-in cost on a per kilowatt hour of the electricity, and as you outlined, have a contract to sell that power at a fixed rate, and that would be a take or pay contract. So the expectation is that the CEA has the obligation to resell that power to your customer, and if that customer doesn't pay you back, you would have the normal default collections mechanism that you have, and when any of your customers don't pay you back, and in terms of, or don't pay their bill. So our expectation is that it does behave like a PPA in that sense. However, we have a separate independent cost for the battery, which is a fixed cost without escalation, and that's essentially an amortization of the initial development cost realized over a long period of time, and we are committing to replacing each of the batteries if they ever wear out. So degradation is not the core factor here.
Right. So, but you'll have to figure that in on your kilowatt
Yes.
hour cost, depending on how much kilowatt each household is going to use. That, I imagine that lease will be a set, whatever it is, for every household. So if you're using
it's
a lot,
uniform price. Yes.
Yeah.
So Kevin, we can share with you that we have launched this program with another CCA, and what we've seen exploring the specific economics of the average home pursuant to the joint rate comparison, which is not the perfect tool, but a good benchmark that CCAs use, is that we've seen that the power price that we're charging on an effective cost per kilowatt hour is about 45%, somewhere between 40 and 45% of the alternative CCA rate, and that essentially savings, more than half of the bill, creates essentially the headroom to allow for the battery payment to be essentially paid and still maintain some either some bill savings or some price parity. And our observation here, and we want to be very clear, is we're not really focused on trying to guarantee savings. We think that a lot of people have sort of said that, and then that ultimately creates a tremendous amount of friction. What we're looking to is essentially the alternative, which is SDG&E raising generation charges every 3 to 6 months for the indefinite future. And the expectation is that these fixed price contracts will create more and more savings over time. What we're really trying to get to is a place where we can pay for the battery, right? The battery is an incremental cost. We know solar can work, but solar works better with batteries. And so this is the interim solution. And our expectation, again, is that a year from now or 2 years from now, as people sign up, the relative savings will be much greater on a monthly to month basis.
Barbara,
All right.
Please
I think I'm going to interrupt here. As fun as this is, and great questions and discussion, we're about an hour into our meeting and we're going to run out of time. And I think I'm going to ask Barbara to clarify, but I think what Barbara is looking for is some general feedback from us. Are we interested in enough in this to recommend that the board pursue it further? We don't have to run the details to the ground today. We're maybe dating them, but we're not even ready to get engaged yet, let alone marry them. And Barbara, do you have a recommendation for us as a group, what you would like us to do?
I'm seeking your recommendation on whether you think its program is something we should continue looking at and pursuing, and whether you would recommend to the board. We plan to bring this to the board at their meeting in February in a similar presentation, and we'd like to be able to let the board know that this has been presented to the Community Advisory Committee, and let them know whether you give it a thumbs up, thumbs sideways, or thumbs down.
All right, thank you. Before we do that, Mo, you still have your hand up. Did you have another question or?
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I should have.
All right, Dolores, I see your hand up then.
Yes, I think one of the questions I had was just how many CCAs have you worked with? And, you know, I'm just interested in what kind of track record that there might be in terms of this kind of program with other CCAs.
Yeah, so there are, I believe, 28 CCAs in California. We are in active discussions with roughly 13, 14 of them. One has officially launched, and less than half a dozen are going to, are intended to go to city council vote in Q1 of this year.
Okay.
Okay, Kevin, quickly, please.
Just real quick. I'm just curious. This is the first. I mean, are there other companies doing something similar?
No.
If we move forward, do we need to go out with a RFP or something? Or I just don't know.
Yeah.
It sounds good to me, but I just want to make sure we don't jump the gun.
We do have a board policy on that kind of thing, but I think we're a little early for that. At this point, we just want to know, is this interesting enough that we'd like to go to the next step? And the next step might be with a different company or these guys. So let me try it this way, just to move us along. Is there anybody that feels strongly they would be a no? They see a problem in this and would not be comfortable to recommend that we take it to the next step? Okay, then let me ask, is everybody else okay if we say there's a unanimous position to recommend up the ladder to the board that we do pursue this to the next step? I'm seeing a lot of yeses. Rick, did you want to make a comment, or is that just a yes for a hand?
I like your idea of moving to a second gate.
Okay, well, though, at least 2 gates. We'll have several gates. But so Barbara, is that enough for you to carry this back to the board? My read of our group is we're in unanimous agreement, take it to the next step. Lots of unanswered questions to be addressed, but next step, yes.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, that is. Thank you.
All right, then thank you, Stephen, and everybody from the various groups that made the presentations, and I'm sure we will speak further. And with that, Barbara, I think we are to your CEO report.
Thank you. Yes. And let me share my screen. I have a lot of exciting updates for you all. Okay, so first off, the board did consider and approve a rate change that was effective yesterday, changed rates effective yesterday. Our rates did go up. The current energy market conditions driven by higher than expected natural gas prices, which everyone has been feeling on their gas bills, resulted in our rates that had been in effect were no longer sufficient to cover our costs. However, our rate increase has also been offset significantly by a decrease in the exit fees that are charged by San Diego Gas and Electric. The resulting generation cost savings for customers ranges between 2% to 25%, depending on the vintage that the customers are in, and I'll explain more about that in more detail. Average residential bill savings, and this is compared to what would be paid to SDG&E for the same amount of energy. Carlsbad and Del Mar will see an average savings on the time of use DR1 rate of about $20 a month compared to what they would have paid SDG&E. In Solana Beach, it's just under $18, and for the new customers in Escondido and San Marcos, $1.21. And again, the range of savings is based on the exit fees that are being will be charged and are being charged by SDG&E. So what does that mean in terms of the actual bill comparison? So this uses average monthly usage, and it's the same monthly usage across for SDG&E's based on SDG&E's rates that were effective on January 1, and the now adopted rates for the 3 various vintages. This first line is what's the chart the customer is paying for just for the electricity, just for the electrons. So at the average usage based on SDG&E's now current rate schedule for, again, this residential rate schedule TOU DR1, customers are charged $80.85. At CEA's now adopted rate effective for this rate schedule, for that same usage for the same time periods, CEA's charge is $60. Then on top of that, customers pay the exit fee, also known as PCIA, and franchise fees. And this really is what's driving the difference in the rate comparison. So for customers in the 2022 exit fee vintage, it's $19.23. And how this is determined is based on when the customers leave SDG&E and begin taking service as a CEA customer. The vintages run from July of the prior year through June of the current year. So for any customers departing SDG&E service from July of 2022 through June 30th of 2023, they are in the 2022 vintage. The 2020 vintage is the vintage that Carlsbad and Del Mar are in, based on when they enrolled in CEA. Their combined exit fees and franchise fees for average usage is about 41 cents. Last year, they were paying close to what Escondido and San Marcos customers are looking at paying. There's a significant decrease in the exit fees for 2020 vintage. Solana Beach, because they formed Solana Energy Alliance, so they're in a third vintage, 2017, their exit fees are $2.52. So then combined, this is the comparison on the generation. All of our cities have selected Clean Impact Plus, which is our 75% carbon-free energy. And there is a small premium for that upgrade, and it's on average usage, it's about 41 cents. Delivery fees are the same across all customers, irrespective of whether you are an SDG&E bundled customer or in any of the 3 vintages. So you can see the total bill comparison, which is what these comparisons are compared to. So why is the 2022 vintage so much higher? So you might remember that last June 1st, 2022, SDG&E lowered their rates. And at the time they were in the process of lowering their rates, both Clean Energy Alliance and San Diego Community Power protested. And we protested on the basis of lowering these rates was counter to where the current market conditions were, and that it would result in SDG&E not collecting sufficient revenue to cover costs of buying the electricity. Sure enough, they ended the year and they had an under collection. They didn't collect enough money to pay for the energy that was being sold. That results in then they need to then assess to customers to make up that difference. However, for customers who are leaving SDG&E service and now coming to Clean Energy Alliance, SDG&E, the only way they can recover those losses from those customers is through the exit fee. So this exit fee includes a supplemental charge for that under collection from last year. And it's a one-time supplemental charge, and so that will go away, and we would likely see the 2022 vintage to be more in line with the 2020 vintage. Moving on to the update on our Community Advisory Committee vacancy for the city of Carlsbad. The application period did close for that vacancy, and we did receive 1 application. And the applicant will be up for approval of the appointment at our next meeting. And then they will be joining us at our next meeting, Community Advisory Committee meeting. And then we will again be a full committee. returning to in-person meetings, and I say return, but I don't think this group has ever had an in-person meeting because we were formed after COVID. So moving to in-person meetings. Our state of emergency, the state of emergency does expire on February 28th. And we anticipate that beginning in March, CEA's meetings will be in person, both the board meetings and the community advisory committee meetings. The board had previously selected San Marcos as a location for in-person meetings, but that was prior to Oceanside and Vista joining. Now that we are now a 7-member agency, the board has reconsidered the location of in-person meetings and selected Oceanside. And Oceanside has been gracious enough to host our meetings. And so meetings will be held in Oceanside at Oceanside City Council chambers. At the last board meeting, the board authorized Clean Energy Alliance to work together with San Diego Community Power to evaluate establishing a regional energy network. And we are planning to bring a presentation to this committee at the next meeting to talk about what a regional energy network is. But the short story is that this is one pathway that we have to access energy efficiency funds and funding from the PUC. And so currently there is no regional energy network operating in San Diego area. And so we are interested in looking at what it would take to form one and what the benefits might be. And so the board did authorize moving forward, working with San Diego Community Power in that effort. And then I have included statistics on, we've had questions in prior community advisory committee meetings about our customer makeup, where customers are enrolled, which types of power supply products. So I've included some new statistics with regards to the opt-out activity and what power supply products customers are enrolled in. And we are currently serving just over 92% of our customers at this time. And that's for the 3 cities of Carlsbad, Del Mar, and Solana Beach. And Chair, that does conclude my update. I'm happy to answer.
All right. Thank you, Barbara. Let's see if we have any committee members that would have a question about the CEO report. Paige, I see your real hand up, so go ahead.
Just really quickly, Barbara, how do those opt-out rates translate to percents? Did you say that, or did I just miss it?
Well, we serve 92.28%, so that's about a 7.8% opt-out rate.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Dolores.
Yeah, Barbara, I was wondering what your opinion is in terms of why our 100% renewable rates, the participation rate is not higher. And I know that like even in Marin, their rate is less than 10%. It's like 5 or 6% for 100% renewable customers. And so I just wonder if there's something going on here that I'm not aware of.
That's a great question. And I think we can dive into it more in our item 5, but the short answer is it's very difficult to have people take an affirmative action to sign up for something. Even if you were to call them and ask them, do you believe in 100% renewable energy and would you pay $2 a month for it? They say yes. And then you say, okay, go to this website or call this number, give them your account number. It's just it's not easy to have people do that. So we have put together a program to encourage opt-ups, and we'll talk about that. But it's just, and as you referred to, Marin Clean Energy, who that community is well known, I think, for being very conscientious and supportive of sustainability and climate action plans. We recently did a survey when we were putting together this Green Impacts Champion program, looking at what types of marketing campaigns CCAs have undergone to encourage opting up and how successful were they. And there was really not much return for a lot of effort and money spent in terms of seeing a big increase in your opt-ups. So yeah, it's a challenge to
It's really surprising to me, but I understand. Yeah.
All right, thank you. Good question. Interesting answer. Any other questions on the CEO report? If not, let's move.
Wait, I want to just say that the February Sandpiper that went online today contains an article by Dolores about how people in Del Mar should opt up to 100%. So a free advertisement. I don't know how many people. I think there are only 70 some odd people in Del Mar that are opted up for 100%, but we do, and the city does, and I think it's probably a requirement to be on the community advisory committee to opt up to 100%. So
should be
to make that clear.
Okay, thank you for that, Don. I'm sorry I didn't see your hand there. And the slides that Barbara showed, you should have all received them. And if you didn't, I'm sure she'd be happy to get you a set of those so you don't have to remember all those numbers. I think we're ready to move on to the next item, which is
Chair Gordon, before you move on, can you see if
Sure.
there's any public comment?
Thank you, Elizabeth, for reminding me. Yes, Susan, do we have anybody on the line that wanted to comment on any of this?
There are no requests to speak.
All right, thank you for checking. And then update from subcommittees for those of you who are new. Since we only meet bi-monthly, we decided an efficient way to get work done was to have subcommittees that could meet more frequently at their convenience. And we established 3 subcommittees and they're listed on the agenda. So I'm going to ask each subcommittee to take a minute and update us on what they've been doing, if anything. I know a lot of it's been kind of slow because of the holidays and this and that. And also those of you who are new to be thinking about if you would like to join one of these subcommittees to let us know. So with that in mind, I see Rick Paul's hand is up. Rick?
Yes, thank you. So yes, I'm on the local program subcommittee, and anybody that wants to join us, yes, please do. But at our last meeting, we decided we'd like to propose solar plus batteries in our local mobile home communities. And as we'd like to propose that as our first initiative from the local programs. And I guess we're at a point where we'd like the rest of the CAC's feedback on that. And then, and how you'd like us to move forward with that idea.
A good suggestion. We probably wouldn't, if we wanted to have an action item, put it on the agenda. But I think at this point, if anybody has informal comments, if not, my suggestion is let's refer that as a recommendation from our subcommittee for an agenda item for the next full committee meeting and ask Barbara to take a look at it in the meantime so she can inform us when it comes to the agenda. Does that sound reasonable? All right, Rick, thank you for that. And yes, Paige, your real hand again.
Yeah, I just want to add to what Rick said, which was, because I'm on that committee as well. I'm just wondering if the distributed microgrid presentation that we just heard couldn't tie into the mobile home. So anyway,
probably
thanks.
Could. I don't see why it couldn't. Jennifer,
seems like.
Yeah, Jennifer, your hand is up.
Yeah, so I'm on that subcommittee also, and I just wanted to share our mission statement with the group because I don't know if we shared that yet. So our mission statement is to evaluate and propose potential programs to further the equitable implementation of the member organization's climate action plans.
Excellent. We like that. And if we want to have something like a mission statement endorsed by the full committee, we should probably have that on the next committee agenda too. But I think if it works for your subcommittee, it's doing its job. Okay. How about outreach to underserved communities? I know we had a meeting and we got started on trying to identify what areas of our various member agencies were underserved communities, were there tribal communities, just so that what were the needs. And we started working on that. And then I'll take responsibility. I probably should have called a second follow-up meeting and I didn't because of the holidays and this and that. So that's kind of where we are, unless anybody else on the committee wanted to speak up, or if anybody in the group would like to get involved with that committee, speak up as well. All right, I'm not seeing any takers. So the final committee is the Electrical Vehicles Committee, and who would like to give us an update from them?
So this is Kevin. We have not met this last cycle. It's been busy, like you said. I've been really busy at work, so I will coordinate something for our next meeting.
Okay, great, Kevin, and no worries about that. We're all doing the best we can, and I will do the same for the underserved committees to make sure that we meet. So let me politely but firmly look some of you in the eye who are new. If you're not prepared today to indicate a subcommittee that you'd like to work on, that's fine. I will ask you again at the next meeting, but if there's something that lights your fire right now that you're definitely interested in, by all means, speak up right now. Nancy.
Yeah, I'd be interested in working with the outreach of underserved communities.
Okay. Barbara, can I ask you to take notes on this so that I don't forget that Nancy wants to be added to that subcommittee? And Elizabeth will.
I'm sorry, Chair, you can, and we do need to be mindful that we cannot have a majority of our Community Advisory Committee on a subcommittee.
Right.
So,
I was just going to ask Elizabeth, I think because our CAC is now so much bigger that our quorum requirement has moved up. And I can't do math, but I think we can add 1 or 2 people to each of these subcommittees at this point without violating the law. But Elizabeth, will you keep us in line on that?
Chair Warden, you have correctly stated the law. What I don't know is how many people are on which subcommittee. So,
and I can tell you that I have the list. So we currently have our current Community Advisory Committee has 7 members, soon to be. Sorry, I'm confused. We have
7 agencies, 2 each.
13 members, soon to be 14. So each subcommittee could have and we have the chair, so that brings us to 15. So we can have up to 7 once the new member. So right now is 6, and then we can have 7. The underserved communities, outreach to underserved community currently has 5 members. So we can add Nancy to that one. And then I would say that brings us to 1, 2, 3. That brings us to 5. So all of them have. The local programs has 5 and the electric vehicles has 4.
Okay, thank you for that. So we do have a bit of headroom. And I see Mr. Davenport, you have your hand up.
Yeah, I'll fill out the 5th one in the electric vehicles to start with.
All right. Any other volunteers for anything? And if somebody thinks there's another subcommittee that we could create, chew on that, and we'll take that up at the next meeting. But I'm not seeing any more hands. Paige.
I just wanted to say that our subcommittee on underserved communities is hold on, that's the wrong committee. I'm getting mixed.
Local programs.
The local programs committee is slated to meet March 6th at 7 p.m. via Zoom. So, yeah. And I have myself, Rick, Jen, Dolores, and Susan on that. Nobody else volunteered, is that correct?
I think that's right. And
okay.
Just again, Elizabeth, if you can, excuse me, correct me if I get this wrong, but although we're going back to in-person meetings for the full CAC, these subcommittees can continue to meet by Zoom if they want to, right?
that's correct, because the subcommittee meetings have less than a quorum. And so therefore, they're not required by the Brown Act to be public meetings. So that's why they're not agendized, and you can have them via Zoom however you please.
Thank you. And that you can meet at the coffee shop or in somebody's living room, however you want to do it as a subcommittee. So I'm not seeing any other hands. And in the interest of trying to get through the agenda, let's keep going. The next item is item 4 is
Your Warden, can we just check on that there's no public comment real quick?
There are no requests to speak.
Okay. Thank you again, Elizabeth, for reminding me. I appreciate it. So the next item is the review of cities of Escondido and San Marcos outreach events, schedule and assistance assignments. So Barbara, to you.
Thank you. So I have for our review is our current schedule of in-person activity. Well, before we get to the in-person activities, just to let you know where we're at with regards to our outreach. Our first notice is going out actually tomorrow. And we have a requirement to send out a minimum of 4 notices to customers who are being automatically enrolled. Our enrollment for Escondido and San Marcos is in April. And so our first notice is required to be sent out 60 days prior to a customer's enrollment. We have created our notices in both English and Spanish. And the version will be sent based on whether the customer has indicated the preference to receive Spanish language communications. They will be going out in groups. And what the reason we do them in groups and not all 90,000 at one time is to minimize the impact on our call center, because those typically drive calls with questions. And so we like to stagger them. So they'll go out in batches, the first batch tomorrow, and then the next 2 batches next week. We've begun advertisements in the Coast News Inland Edition. Those advertisements are scheduled and have already begun January 20th, February 3rd, February 17th, March 3rd, and April 7th. So throughout the enrollment period. These are the in-person events that we currently have scheduled. So our first in-person event will be a presentation to the San Marcos Climate Action Plan Group, Working Group. It is scheduled for February the 15th. And we currently have scheduled myself, Jennifer, Kevin, and Mo to participate in that event. The San Marcos Senior Center lunch will be February 16th at 1 p.m. Scheduled as myself and Karen from our communications team, Trepepi Smith. She does speak Spanish, so we will have a Spanish language person available to speak to Spanish speakers and answer questions. And in addition, we will have Mo, Paige, and Jennifer in attendance. We will be at the Escondido Farmers Market twice with a booth, February 21st and March 21st. And currently it's just myself that will be there. So if anyone is available and willing to come and hang out with me at the farmers market, maybe buy some great produce and answer questions, please let me know. We plan to be available at the San Marcos Food Bank on February 22nd at 11 a.m. And again, it's myself, Karen from Trepepi Smith, Paige, Mo, and Jennifer. And lastly on our schedule is to have a booth at the San Marcos Spring Fling. And that's an all-day event on April 2nd. And currently it's myself and Jennifer scheduled to be at those events. So please make note if you know you are available and want to volunteer to join us now, let me know and I'll put your name down. If you want time to look at your consult your calendar and want to shoot me an email, let me know as well, and I'll put you down.
I can volunteer for part of the time at the farmers markets.
And I'm sorry, because I'm sharing my screen, I couldn't see who that was.
That was Nancy Oshley.
Nancy, thank you.
Yeah. So I can at least do part of the time, at least from 2:30 until 4:30.
Okay.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
Nancy.
Thank you.
Paige?
I just want to say that in follow up to what Dolores was asking, can we promote the opt up to 100% clean energy at these meetings so that we can promote that?
Yeah, I'm going to stop sharing so I can see the screen and speak to you, but we actually do have a plan at those events. I think Sarah, here's my calling on you. I think we have scheduled to have a QR code that customers can scan and opt up and then be eligible to receive. We have handout gifts and you can get a gift for opting up on the spot. So we do plan to be very much promoting opting up and hoping that we can drive up our opt-ups through this being in person and having that available.
All right, thank you, Barbara. Sarah has her hand up.
Yeah.
Yeah, the only thing I wanted to add to that was, in addition to Coast News, we have advertisements running in the Escondido Times Advocate. Actually, one that went out yesterday or 2 days ago now, I believe. We'll have some going out in March and April as well, as we get a little closer to the launches. And then also we have ads running in San Elijo Live. So I just want to, this group surfaced some of those opportunities. So I want to make sure you know that we were running in those as well.
All right, thank you for that, Sarah. And thank you to all of you who have already volunteered to participate in this outreach effort. Some of you are doing it multiple times. Kudos, you get a gold star. Any of the rest of you, even if you can't go for the whole time, if you can show up even for part of the time, that's helpful. It's very impressive to people to see not just staffers, but an actual citizen who cares enough about this to be there. Third, I wanted to give a compliment to Sarah and Barbara, or whoever did it. I thought the ad layout was very nicely done. And the final, and this is just a suggestion, that as we've seen, stationary inertia is such that only about 10% or a bit less of people opt out, and only about 10% or less opt up. So for those of you in cities that haven't decided yet on what your default product is, consider urging them to select the 100% green default opportunity, and then we won't have to struggle to get people to sign up for it. We'll just accept the 10% or so default who drop out. But I realize that on my own council and on all the councils, there's political issues that go into what you select as the default option. But for those of us who are advocates, I just plant the seed. You might want to encourage your city to select the 100% green option. Mo.
Sure.
Yes, Barbara, is there a dress code for attending those events, outreach events? Dress code?
I have not heard there is one, but I will inquire on that.
Yeah, I mean, you know,
we don't have uniforms.
No, I was just thinking like if the weather is nice, I can come with my shorts, or no, I gotta have, and then if there is any T-shirt that shows our slogan and all that, things like this. But anyway, hey, Barbara, you let us know. I will follow accordingly. Thank you. Thank you very much.
And I do want to share, Chair Warden, that all cities have selected Clean Impact Plus. So the cities have made their selections. I'm sorry, with the exception of Oceanside and Vista. So Escondido and San Marcos has made the selection of Clean Impact Plus. So we have 5 of our 7 who have selected 75% carbon free as the default. Oceanside and Vista city councils will be considering that choice at the end of this calendar year.
All right, thank you for that. I made my pitch. Take it as you will. All right, other questions, comments on this topic? This is super important to do a good outreach to bring the communities on board and hopefully minimize at least the opt-outs.
Yeah, and also if you're involved in a community group, a club, particularly in Escondido or San Marcos, that you think would be valuable to receive a presentation, I'm always happy to join. Virtually, is good, but if I'm going to be in the area, I'd be happy to, join a meeting. But I have done chambers of commerce presentations in the past, electric vehicle associations. And there's been a few others, I can't remember who now. But I'm always happy to make a presentation, and because that helps to get the word out.
Yeah, please take her up on that. Barbara's really good at this. Mo.
Yeah, Barbara, one other question. From your experience, do we need to know the frequently asked questions that we can kind of be more prepared when we come to these events? Maybe you can share that with us, if that's possible. And then that way, then we're more prepared. And I said, oh, gee, I don't know. That kind of thing. Frequently asked questions.
Yeah, we do have frequently asked questions on our website. Our website has a great amount of information, but I will have information available. I will provide you with some information ahead of time. I will be there. So you know, you won't be left alone to answer a complicated question.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
it's just, you know, some people just are, you know, we'll make sure that you can explain what is community choice. There'll be people who think we're a solar company and trying to sell solar. There'll be people who, you know, just want to know what we're giving away. So yeah, there won't be a question. I know you'll be able to answer it, Mo.
No, actually, I have been asked a lot of questions. The funny ones that I would like to share with you all, they said, since when government wants to get into the energy business? That's the question that I usually come up with a sarcastic answer. I said, excuse me, but we have been doing water and sewer for 150 years. That's all I say. Okay, I'll shut up.
Thank you, Mo. And let me do my job and ask Susan, do we have any public comments on this topic?
There are no requests to speak.
Okay, then in the interest of time, I don't think we have ever set a formal termination time, but I've tried to keep these meetings to an hour and a half, and we're coming up on that. So let's go to the next item on our agenda, the Green Impact Champions Program. And if anybody has to leave, we'll understand, but if you can stay a few minutes extra, that would be appreciated. Back to you, Barbara.
Okay, thank you, Chair. This is the last item on the agenda. And there have been a number of questions from our Community Advisory Committee about our 100% renewable and Green Impacts Champions. What are we doing to encourage opt-ups? And so we have this program that we are launching, and it is a program to recognize our customers who have opted up or are opting up. So when a customer opts up, they will receive a welcome letter. We're just finalizing that letter that will come signed by our board chair. And included in that is a window cling. And when I'm finished with my slide, I'll jump over and pull up that logo. But we've created window clings that will be sent to the customers that they can display in a window, whether it's a business or a residence. In terms of marketing, we're going to be promoting opting up to Green Impact Champions to our social media. We plan to do an advertorial in connection with in April, in connection with Earth Month, Earth Day. We have had and will have a booth at the Carlsbad Chamber Green Business Expo, and again be promoting opting up. And we typically have had people from San Marcos and Escondido that we've talked to, and now we can talk to them about the enrollments, but also encourage opt-ups as well. But we're open to other ideas in terms of how we can promote the program and encourage opting up. I think our in-person opportunities coming up, I think, are great places to encourage opting up, but would love to hear any other ideas that you have.
All right, thank you for that, Barbara. Dolores.
Yes, Barbara, you mentioned that I guess the PR team had reviewed a lot of the other CCA marketing plans, you know, aimed at trying to get people to opt up. And I don't know whether or not anything like an insert has been considered that would go in along with, you know, the bill, somebody's bill. An insert that maybe could have, you know, someone who's already opted up quoted, or, you know, just it could be used just basically to sort of something eye-catching that they would see along with their bill, you know, and it might be kind of you know, like a reminder, you know, and sometimes when there's a personal connection there with another, you know, a neighbor who's already done this, it can, you know, I mean, it can have more of an impact. And the other thing I just was wondering about is in terms of social media, is if CAC members might want to go on to Nextdoor, those who are on Nextdoor, I'd be happy to do this and talk about, you know, the benefits and why did I opt up, you know, that kind of thing. And because I just think maybe one of the things that's missing here is I totally get the fact that people are not are not very prone to opting up, and that there needs to be something more compelling than that. And I think that, making it more of a kind of a, I mean, even if CAC members were able to make calls to people, or write letters or something, just something that, there's a personal connection. Anyway, so I just wanted to mention those possibilities.
The bill inserts are a little bit, can be a little expensive because SDG&E would charge us to, and it's not inexpensive. But what we can do is we do have the ability to put a footnote on the bill. So we can develop a footnote that we can just always have underneath our charges that encourages people, reminds people we have 100% renewable and to opt up. That's a great idea. With regards to social media and Nextdoor, I would like to ask our general counsel to give a quick, I guess, reminder to this board with regards to social media and the Brown Act and what you need to be mindful of.
Thanks, Barb. For my bottom line recommendation, and I'll explain it in a minute, but is to have only one member of any legislative body on any given social media platform. The reason is because for a limited period of time, unless it gets extended, the Brown Act provisions have been modified for social media so that, before the law was passed, you would need a quorum of members to have participated. Now it's down to 2. So it's virtually impossible to avoid a Brown Act violation on social media if you have multiple people posting things. So that's just a really easy bright line rule. There is an ability to monitor that more carefully. Things you definitely should not do is never, ever, ever reply to somebody. If you like a message, if you forward a message, if you respond to a message of another, even one member of the body, that's a Brown Act violation. So my recommendation would be to split up the social media platforms, and then not ever, everybody just also needs to know you don't engage whatsoever on the platform that you're not assigned to.
Okay. Well, and I have more of an interest in doing this because I have really, a communications and marketing background. And I don't know how many other members are interested in doing this, but I would be happy to, and I could do it on Nextdoor. Just because, that's your neighbors. And I think it's a lot more kind of direct.
Well, let me suggest that maybe we can put on the next agenda to designate Dolores as our representative to social media, and that way we're complying with the conservative Brown Act rules and getting something done. And we have a volunteer willing to do it. But I don't think we can make that appointment today. So let's put it on the agenda for next time. And thank you for that, Dolores. And Rick, you have your hand up.
Yeah, thank you. So I just wanted to say one thing. It appears to me that when we look at the statistics for who's upping and downing, I don't know if we're taking into account the personal impact people and where they fall into how many customers we have, the percentage of our customers.
It does include those customers as well.
So when you showed the 92.28% or whatever, what's the percentage of the personal impact people?
I'll have to get that separately. I don't have the number of people currently enrolled in our net energy metering, but I can get that.
Okay.
But they are included in that because they are considered customers.
Right. So, but I would think, those customers, they're not going to up to 100% because they already think they're 100%.
We actually do have we do have customers that are in personal impact also opt up to 100% renewable.
Okay. So coming from Escondido, I didn't know that was a choice. I thought you had 4 categories. And if you have your solar, you're only personal impact. You're not one of the other 3 categories.
You are in one of the other 3 as well, because there are times when you're not using the energy from your solar system. So you would be enrolled if you make no changes, you would be enrolled in the 75% carbon free, but you can opt up so that those times when you're buying energy from Clean Energy Alliance, it's 100% renewable.
Oh, so I think that would be low hanging fruit then. If we have people with solar who are not 100%, that would be low hanging fruit. Those people would want to sign up for 100%.
Good point. Thanks, Rick. Paige.
I just want to clarify with Elizabeth that we can go on, not that I use social media much, but we can go on social media as an individual, not representing the community advisory committee, right?
So if the subject matter of what is being posted is within the subject matter of this committee, you cannot have more than one person posting.
Okay.
So, because it's within the subject matter jurisdiction. So yes, if you all want to post pictures of beautiful dogs and grandchildren, that's not a problem. But if you're posting things like, sign up for, 100% or come to our, farmer's market to find out more, any kind of advertising that you're doing for CEA, or I would say even, clean energy in general, that's going to fall within. And so you have a potential Brown Act problem if it's more than one person.
Okay, thanks.
All right, thank you for that, Elizabeth. Any final comments on this topic? I'm not seeing any more hands, so let me ask Susan again. Do we have any public comment on this item?
There are no requests to speak.
Okay, then let me just.
I do have the logo for our Clean Impact Champions
let's see.
program. So we will, and this was selected by the board sometime last year, but that's our logo and our window cling. So it'll be on our communications, and where I'm working with the general counsel to see if it's possible to allow businesses to promote that they are opted up by using this logo on their marketing. So once we have that cleared with the folks that Elizabeth and their team, then we will consider that as well.
All right, thank you, Barbara. I think that's beautiful. And let me just encourage everybody to keep thinking about this. If you can think of other ways to encourage opting up, bring them to the next meeting here. And Mo, I see you got a hand.
Very quickly, sorry, Barbara, if we have other ideas about marketing, should we communicate with you or go to that subcommittee?
Marketing for
other ideas, remember you have the list of social media, April Earth Day, and the other ideas. Do we communicate with you or go to that group that Michelle was, not Michelle, I think there was a group that doing all the marketing, I think was.
Just send me an email.
Okay.
Yes, you can, any member of the committee, you can always, if you have an idea or a question, send them to Barbara, and if it's appropriate, she can distribute them in a Brown Act compliant way.
Thank you.
All right, we're about to wrap up. My memory is we have two items that we're requesting for future agenda items. One is the recommendation from the local programs committee about mobile homes, and the other is to appoint Dolores as our representative for social media. Is there anything else that anybody would like to see on the next agenda?
Chair, I actually had a third one, which is the subcommittee mission statements. So I think, what I think I'll do is amend the agenda so that for the item on update from subcommittee, I'll list who the subcommittee members are and also the mission on the agenda.
Great. And why don't we include on that next agenda too, any potential new subcommittees? I don't know that we need them, but if anybody thinks we do, I'd like to have an opportunity to do that. All right, any final comments for the good of the order before we adjourn? I'm not seeing anything. Yes, I'm sorry, Paige.
I just want to confirm our next meeting date, April 6th. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, that is it. And thank you all. We have a powerhouse group here. It's going to be really fun. You're going to conclude this is the most fun government service you've ever been asked to do.
Thank you.
And,
Great meeting, great meeting. Thank you
It's
very
gonna
much.
be, it's all gonna be electrifying. You're gonna get a charge out of it. Okay, and those happy notes, Barbara, anything else you need to tell us?
No, you just tickled me. I've got to figure out a way to use that now.
Okay, everybody take care and we will see you at the next meeting and get those
Thank you.
subcommittees going.
Thank you very much.
Bye, thank you.
Thank you, Dwight. I appreciate
Thank
it.
you.